Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Juma Mubarak. This is a video I'm making as light prep for the upcoming semester of human anatomy. I'm going to be covering the levels of organization within the human body, systems, terminology, and why structure is equal and directly related to function. First, I will begin with the levels of organization. When doing anatomy, it's important to consider the order at which you're learning. You have to think of it as if you're building the human body from scratch. You have to start with the smallest structure, the cell, and then build up eventually to the organism in its entirety, in the same way that you can't build a house without the foundations. The way we will first build the body is by examining the cell. The cell is the basic unit of life. Every living structure starts with the cell. You and me and everybody around us is made of different kinds of cells at the microscopic level. By different kinds, I mean cells with different functions. For instance, you have nerve cells that make up parts of your brain and your nervous system. You have cardiac cells with the properties of automasticity, excitability, conductivity, and contractility. We have more simple but equally as important cells such as skin cells, which regenerate almost constantly. Like individual Lego pieces, they come together to fulfill their own unique purpose. Next, we have tissues. The different kinds of tissue within our body are made up of groups of cells that are working together towards a single cause. The four basic types of tissue in our body are: epithelial tissue is the tissue responsible for lining the internal and external surfaces of our body and forming the glands that regulate our hormones. Its surface level functions include protection from body injury and pathogens, absorption of different substances, and secretion of different substances like hormones and sweat. Connective tissue's job is to support and separate different kinds of tissues within the human body. Connective tissue is comprised of three main components: cells, fibers, and ground substance. Together these form what is called the extracellular matrix, or the ECM. Good examples of common connective tissue throughout the body are cartilage, bone, and even blood. Muscle tissue encompasses three different subtypes. Skeletal muscle, which is attached to bones through tendons, are the only subtype which is voluntary. It provides both large and small-scale bodily movement that are controlled by both your free will and your sympathetic nervous system. Cardiac muscle, which is unique only to the heart, functions involuntarily by pumping blood throughout the body. Cardiac muscle has the property of automasticity, which allows it to function even without the brain's input. Lastly, smooth muscle, also involuntary, is found in hollow organs, blood vessels, and passageways, and perform involuntary contractile movement in order to move substances throughout your body and move blood at a proper speed through the help of pressure. Nervous tissue is comprised of both neurons, otherwise known as nerve cells, as well as glial cells, otherwise known as neuroglia. Neurons are specialized cells that receive, process, and transmit information throughout the cell body. The dendrite, which receives nerve impulses, and the axon, which transmits a nerve impulse elsewhere. Glial cells are neural cells whose sole purpose is to provide physical and electrical support to neurons. Glial cells bind neurons together to provide structural support. Some glial cells, for instance oligodendrocytes, in the central nervous system, and Schwann cells in the peripheral nervous system, form what's called a myelin sheath around the axon of the neuron, which both insulates and drastically speeds up nerve impulses. Some glial cells are what we call phagocytic, which means that they simply protect neurons from infection. And then lastly, there's glial cells whose purpose is to provide nutrients to neurons by linking them to blood vessels. Next on the line is organs. By definition, an organ is a structure in the body that is made up of two or more tissue types. A beautiful example of an organ is the heart. The heart contains involuntary muscle tissue in order to pump, nervous tissue to control rhythm, and connective tissue to provide structure. A good way to think of a single organ is that of a room of a house. The room has to be made of walls, floors, wiring, and other important components, but they all serve a specific function. Next we have the organ system. Definitionally, an organ system is a group or groups of organs that perform a common function. An amazing representation of an organ system is the digestive system, which includes, on the surface level, the stomach, the intestines, the liver, and the pancreas, which all work together to break down and absorb nutrients. Think of an organ system as the different rooms of a house that serve an overall purpose. Lastly, out of all of them, you have the organism. The organism is you. And likewise, you are the organism. Your overall health depends on how well each level can support each other. In our next chapter, we will expand on the 11 unique organ systems that make us human. Our first organ system is the integumentary system. The integumentary system makes up your skin, your hair, your nails, and your sweat and oil glands. It works to protect your bodily insides from external factors such as injury, infection, dehydration, while also helping to regulate temperature and sensory reception. An interesting fact about the integumentary system is that it is the largest organ system in your body by both surface area and weight, averaging 8 pounds on an adult person. Our second organ system is the skeletal system. Surprisingly enough, the skeletal system does not only include the bones, but also the cartilage, the ligaments, and the joints. Obviously, the skeletal system serves as a framework for your body, but it also protects your organs. It produces blood cells and stores minerals. Interestingly enough, the infant starts out with 270 bones, but as they grow, some fuse, thus why adults have only 206. The third organ system in the human body is the muscular system. As I stated before, this includes skeletal, smooth, and cardiac muscle. Muscles throughout our body serve as a way of movement, posture, as well as heat production. A fun fact is that the masseter, or your jaw muscle, is the strongest muscle in your body by size, and it can exert over 200 pounds of force. The fourth organ system is our nervous system. This consists mostly of the brain, the spinal cord, and the nerves. Functions the nervous system serves are rapid communication, reflexes, and thinking. Your brain has around 86 billion neurons, with each neuron being more than capable of connecting to thousands of other neurons through dendrites and axons. Fifth is our endocrine system. The endocrine system is composed of glands like the pituitary gland, thyroid, adrenal, and pancreas. Functions of the endocrine system are hormone production, growth, metabolism, and reproduction. Fun fact is that the pituitary gland is known as the master gland, and it produces growth hormone, but it's only the size of a pea. For number 6, we have the cardiovascular system. This consists of the heart, the blood, and the blood vessels. Its function is to deliver oxygen and nutrients to the cells and remove waste. If you stretched out all of the blood vessels to make a line, it would cover over 60,000 miles, which is enough to wrap around the earth twice. Number 7 is our lymphatic and immune system. This system is comprised of the lymph nodes, the spleen, the thymus, and the lymph vessels, which all work towards immune defense as well as fluid balance throughout the body. Have you ever noticed that your lymph nodes swell during sickness or infection? That's because lymph nodes are factories for white blood cells, and they have to swell up while your body's infected. Our 8th organ system is the respiratory system. The respiratory system is composed of the lungs, the trachea, the bronchi, and the diaphragm. Its function is to get oxygen in, get carbon dioxide out, giving your body the elements it needs for aerobic metabolism of glucose, as well as helping to maintain a proper pH balance. For number 9, we have the digestive system, which consists of the mouth, the esophagus, the stomach, the intestines, the liver, and the pancreas. Its job is to break down food, as well as absorb nutrients and eliminate waste from the body. Did you know that the stomach lining replaces itself every 3 to 4 days, so your stomach acid doesn't eat through it? Number 10 is the urinary system, composed of the kidneys, the ureters, the bladder, and the urethra. Its job is to filter blood, remove waste, and regulate body fluid. Your kidneys filter around 50 gallons of blood every single day. Lastly, we have the reproductive system, composed of the testes, the penis, the ovaries, the uterus, and the vagina. The functions of these is to produce gametes, otherwise known as the mature haploid cell and the female germ cell, that come together to unite to create what is called a zygote. Interestingly enough, the male sperm is the smallest cell of any cell in the human body, and the female egg is the largest cell of any cell in the human body. The next section I would like to discuss is anatomical language. Why does anatomical language even matter? It matters because when doctors and anatomists describe the body, they need universal terms. Saying something like, the cut is below the elbow can be very confusing depending on the person's position. Thus why we have precise terms and a standard body position. standard anatomical position of a human is described as standing upright, feet apart, palms facing outwards, head facing forward. Even if somebody is not in anatomical position, we still use it as a reference point as a way of keeping consistency. Directional terms are used as a sort of GPS of the human body. They tell us where things are relative to each other. Superior is towards the head, and inferior is towards the feet. The head is superior to the chest. Anterior or ventral is towards the front. Posterior or dorsal is towards the back. The sternum is anterior to the spine. Medial is closer to the midline. Lateral is farther from the midline. The big toe is medial to the little toe. Proximal is closer to the trunk, and distal is farther from the trunk. This applies to limbs only. The wrist is distal to the elbow. Superficial is closer to the surface, and deep is farther inside. The skin is superficial to the muscles. The body is split into 3 different planes. Think of it as a 3-dimensional graph. The sagittal plane divides the body between right and left. If the plane splits the body directly in half, it's known as mid-sagittal. The front, otherwise known as the coronal plane, divides the body between the front and the back. And lastly, the transverse or horizontal plane divides the body between top and bottom. In anatomy, form always follows a function. The shape, size, and design of a body part directly tells you what it does. If you can train yourself to look at structure and immediately assign it to a function, you cut your need for total memorization in half. A good example of structure equals function is that the small intestine is a long tube that is made up internally of folds and finger-like protrusions called villi. By having this structure, it maximizes its function by increasing surface area to absorb more nutrients. It's important to understand this concept in learning because instead of memorizing over 600 muscles and 200 bones, you'll understand the why behind the design, so you'll ultimately have to memorize less. The body is organized from the tiniest cells to tissues to organs to full organ systems working together. There are 11 of those systems, each with its own job, from protection with your skin to movement with your muscles to oxygen from your lungs and nutrients from your digestive system. We learned how to navigate the body using anatomical language, superior and inferior, proximal and distal, sagittal and transverse. And we ended with the golden rule of anatomy: structure equals function. Every shape in the body is designed to match its job.